Now let me talk to you the way a man like Steve Harvey would say it. Listen, when a man hugs you, it ain't random. Men don't just be out here hugging for decoration. We are not built like that. If he wrapped his arms around you and held you just a little longer than normal, baby, that wasn't by accident. That was intention. When we say a man's hug is often more emotional than verbal, we're talking about something deeper than romance, deeper than attraction, deeper than surface level affection. A hug from a man can carry layers of meaning that he may never express out loud. And if you understand that, you begin to read the moment differently. You stop focusing only on what he said before or after, and you start paying attention to what happened in that silent space between his arms closing around you. A lot of men are not naturally wired to articulate emotion the way women often do. That doesn't mean they don't feel deeply. It means they process and release emotion differently. Words can feel exposing. Words can feel risky. But physical contact, especially something as simple and natural as a hug, becomes a safer bridge between what he feels and what he's afraid to say. When he hugs you, that can be his version of opening up. Think about timing. Did the hug come after an argument, after time apart, after a deep conversation? Sometimes a man hugs when he doesn't have the language to fix what's broken, but still wants you to know he cares. That hug can be his apology without saying, "I'm sorry." It can be his reassurance without promising anything dramatic. It can be his way of saying, "I don't want distance between us," even if pride keeps him quiet. There's also the duration. A quick, polite hug is social. It's respectful. It's surface level. But when a man holds you just a little longer, when he tightens his arms, instead of releasing immediately, emotion is involved. Men don't linger physically without a reason. That lingering is feeling. That slight squeeze can mean comfort, relief, longing, even fear of losing you. It's subtle, but it's powerful. Body language never lies the way words sometimes do. You can rehearse a sentence. You can filter what you say. But your body reacts in real time. If he melts into the hug, if his shoulders drop, if he exhales deeply, that's emotional release. That's him feeling safe enough to let his guard down for a few seconds. Safety is not something men offer casually. When a man feels safe with you, that's significant. Sometimes a hug happens when he's overwhelmed. Men carry pressure silently, work stress, family expectations, internal doubts. He may not sit down and unpack it verbally. But in a hug, especially one that feels grounding, he might be borrowing your calm. He might be drawing strength from closeness. That doesn't make him weak. It makes him human. Emotional dependency doesn't always sound like a "I need you." Sometimes it feels like a tight embrace that lasts longer than usual. A hug can also signal protection. When a man wraps his arms around you firmly, positioning himself in a way that shields you, there's instinct there. Protection is deeply tied to how many men express care. He might not constantly say affectionate things, but in that moment his body is communicating, "You're safe here." That message can carry more weight than compliments. And let's not ignore vulnerability. Physical closeness requires trust. When someone steps into your personal space, when there's no barrier, no phone, no distraction, that's exposure. A man to initiate or fully engage in a hug, he's lowering his defenses, even if just briefly. That's emotional honesty in physical form. He may not know how to narrate his feelings, but his arms can reveal them. You also have to consider consistency. If he doesn't hug everyone the same way, if his energy shifts when it's you, that difference matters. Men are intentional with their energy more than people assume. If the hug feels personal, if it feels like something shared rather than routine, there's meaning attached to it. Emotions don't always come packaged in poetic speeches. Sometimes they show up in gestures. A hug is one of the purest forms of nonverbal communication. It bypasses ego. It bypasses overthinking. It's instinctive. And when a man hugs you with presence, with warmth, with sincerity, it's often the truest expression he's capable of in that moment. Physical closeness can reveal hidden feelings in a way that nothing else can. When a man steps into your space and wraps his arms around you, that moment strips away performance. Conversation allows room for strategy. Text messages allow time to calculate responses. Even eye contact can be controlled. But a hug happens in real time. It exposes what he feels underneath whatever mask he's been wearing. Men are often taught to manage their emotions quietly. From a young age, many are conditioned to stay composed, to appear strong, avoid looking overly sensitive. Because of that, feelings don't always come out in long emotional speeches. Instead, they leak through actions. Physical closeness becomes one of the most honest translations of what's happening inside. When he hugs you, especially in a way that feels intentional, his body is speaking a truth his mouth may not be ready to confess. Pay attention to how his energy changes when he gets close. Does he soften? Does his breathing shift? Does he seem more grounded? These subtle signals matter. A man who carries tension will often release it in physical contact with someone he feels connected to. That release is emotional exposure. It means he trusts the moment enough to let his guard drop. Trust is not random. It grows from feeling something meaningful. Closeness also removes distance in more ways than one. Emotional distance often hides behind pride, fear, or uncertainty. But when he chooses to close the physical gap between you, that can signal that he doesn't want emotional distance either. Humans naturally move closer to what they value. If he didn't feel anything, he could maintain space comfortably. When he eliminates that space, especially gently and deliberately, there's usually emotion behind it. Sometimes hidden feelings show up in hesitation. Maybe he pauses before letting go. Maybe his hands tighten slightly as if he's debating whether to hold on longer. That hesitation is internal conflict surfacing physically. He may be sorting through feelings he hasn't fully processed yet. Attraction, attachment, longing, regret, all of it can surface in a single embrace. The body reacts faster than the mind can rationalize. Physical closeness can also reveal protective instincts. When he positions himself in a way that shields you or pulls you slightly behind him in a crowded space, that gesture often comes from an emotional place. Protection isn't always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it's as subtle as a firm arm around your shoulders. That physical reassurance can reflect care he hasn't verbalized yet. There's also a difference between obligation and desire. Obligation feels stiff. It feels quick. It lacks warmth. Desire feels present. When he hugs you because he wants to, not because the moment socially requires it, you can sense it. His hands settle naturally. His posture aligns with yours. He isn't rushing. That natural ease often points to genuine feeling. People don't relax into physical closeness with someone they feel indifferent about. Closeness can also bring clarity during confusion. Maybe words between you have been complicated, maybe communication hasn't been perfect. Yet when he hugs you, everything feels temporarily simple. That simplicity can reveal that underneath misunderstandings, there's still connection. The body doesn't argue the way the ego does. It responds to emotion directly. Hidden feelings often surface strongest during vulnerable moments. If he hugs you when you're upset, when he's stressed, when there's uncertainty about where things stand, that hug can be a silent confession. It can mean, I care more than I've admitted. Emotional vulnerability shows up most clearly when someone chooses connection instead of withdrawal. Physical closeness also amplifies chemistry. Attraction isn't only about appearance, it's about energy. Two people hug and there's a noticeable shift, warmth, comfort, even nervous excitement. That reaction can signal deeper feelings forming beneath the surface. Chemistry is difficult to fake because it's physiological. Heart rate changes. Muscles relax or tense. Those reactions don't follow scripts. Even the way he initiates the hug matters. Does he lean in first? Does he pull you closer rather than waiting for you to guide it? Initiative often reflects intention. Intention reflects thought, and thought combined with closeness suggests emotion. Men rarely move toward intimacy accidentally. There's usually a feeling driving that step forward. When physical closeness consistently feels meaningful rather than mechanical, it becomes a pattern. Patterns reveal truth. If every time he's near you there's a softness, a focus, an attentiveness that isn't present with others, hidden feelings may not be so hidden after all. They're simply being expressed in a language that isn't verbal. In the end, the body often tells the story the heart is still trying to understand. Physical closeness removes filters, it removes excuses. It narrows everything down to presence and connection. And in that presence, what he truly feels has very little room to hide. Silence during a hug speaks louder than words ever could because silence removes distraction. When two people embrace and nothing is being said, there's no performance, no explanation, no attempt to shape the narrative. It's just presence, and presence reveals truth. In that quiet space, you can often feel what someone is unable or unwilling to say. A man may struggle to express affection verbally, but in silence, while holding you close, his emotions can surface without resistance. When a hug happens and both of you stop talking, that pause is powerful. Words can sometimes complicate feelings. They can minimize them or exaggerate them. Silence doesn't distort. It amplifies what's already there. If his arms tighten slightly and neither of you rushes to fill the moment with chatter, that quiet becomes a form of communication. It can mean comfort. It can mean longing. It can mean relief. The absence of sound makes the emotional exchange clearer. Men especially tend to reveal more in quiet physical moments than in conversations about feelings. Talking about emotions can feel vulnerable in a way that challenges their sense of control. But standing still, holding someone, breathing in sync, allows emotion to exist without being dissected. In that silence, you might notice his breathing slow down. You might feel his body relax. That physical response can signal trust and emotional safety. Trust doesn't need words to be real. Silence during a hug can also reveal hesitation. If he holds you but seems unsure about letting go, that pause tells a story. Sometimes people hesitate when they're afraid the moment will end or when they're wrestling with emotions they don't fully understand. That extra second before he releases you might carry more meaning than a long conversation ever could. It can reflect attachment forming beneath the surface. There's something deeply intimate about shared silence. When two people can be close without needing to speak, it suggests comfort. Discomfort often pushes people to fill space with unnecessary words. Comfort allows stillness. If he remains quiet but present, fully engaged in the embrace, that presence shows focus. His attention isn't scattered. It's centered on the connection in that moment. Silence can also expose sincerity. Compliments can be rehearsed. Promises can be exaggerated. A quiet embrace offers no place to hide. The way his hands rest, the steadiness of his posture, the subtle movements of his fingers, these details reveal intention. If he's distracted or detached, you feel it immediately. If he's emotionally invested, you feel that too. Silence heightens awareness of these signals. Sometimes silence during a hug reflects emotional overwhelm. When feelings are strong, words can fail. A man who doesn't know how to articulate what he's experiencing may simply hold you tighter instead. That tightening can mean gratitude, desire, reassurance, or even apology. It's a physical manifestation of emotion reaching a point where language feels insufficient. Silence also allows vulnerability to surface naturally. In conversation, people often guard themselves, choosing words carefully. In stillness, defenses lower. If he rests his head against yours or closes his eyes while holding you, that indicates a level of emotional openness. Closing one's eyes during a hug often signals immersion in the feeling rather than detachment from it. It shows he's allowing himself to experience the connection fully. Another layer of silent communication comes from synchronization. When two people hug and their breathing gradually aligns, that rhythm creates an unspoken bond. Human bodies subconsciously mirror each other when there's connection. That mirroring isn't forced. It happens organically when there's emotional resonance. In silence, you become more aware of these subtle harmonies. Silence can also clarify uncertainty. If there has been tension or confusion between you, a quiet hug can momentarily cut through that noise. The absence of dialogue removes blame and analysis. What remains is raw feeling. If the embrace feels warm and genuine despite prior misunderstandings, that warmth speaks for itself. If it feels distant or obligatory, silence exposes that too. In many ways, silence during a hug becomes a truth serum. It reveals whether the connection is alive or fading. It highlights whether there's comfort or strain. Words can sometimes create illusions. Silence strips illusions away. When a man chooses to stay in that quiet moment with you, not rushing, not pulling back abruptly, he's allowing emotion to exist without interference. The power of that stillness lies in its honesty. Without a single sentence spoken, the body communicates attachment, care, hesitation, longing, or peace. Silence doesn't need translation because it's felt rather than heard. And when you pay attention to how that silence feels, you often understand far more than any explanation could provide. A real hug carries intention, not confusion. When a man truly means it, his embrace is deliberate. It is not careless, not rushed, not scattered. There is a difference between contact and connection. Contact is casual, it is automatic, almost social. Connection is focused, it has weight behind it. When his arms wrap around you with purpose, when his hands settle firmly instead of hovering awkwardly, that is intention revealing itself through action. Intention shows up in the way he approaches you. Does he step toward you confidently, closing the space without hesitation? Does he lean in half-heartedly, as if fulfilling an obligation? A man who hugs with real feeling doesn't second-guess the movement. His body language aligns with his decision. He doesn't keep one foot angled away, as if preparing to exit. He positions himself fully in front of you. That alignment signals clarity. Confusion creates distance. Intention removes it. The firmness of the embrace also matters. A genuine hug has structure, feels secure rather than loose. It communicates, I'm here. There is steadiness in his arms, quiet strength that isn't overpowering but isn't uncertain either. Confusion tends to feel fragile. When someone is unsure, their touch can be inconsistent. But when a man knows he wants to hold you, the embrace feels grounded. You sense that he chose to be in that moment. Eye contact before and after the hug can further reflect intention. If he looks at you directly, not nervously glancing around, that focus suggests presence. Presence is powerful because it requires attention. A distracted hug often feels incomplete. An intentional one feels centered. When he isn't preoccupied with his phone, his surroundings, or other people, you know the moment matters to him. There's also purpose in timing. A real hug often comes at meaningful moments, after time apart, during vulnerability, in celebration, even in silent understanding. It isn't random. It responds to emotion. When someone hugs you exactly when you need reassurance or comfort, that awareness demonstrates emotional attentiveness. He's not guessing, he's responding. That response is intentional care. Another sign of intention is how he releases you. Does he pull away abruptly, almost as if the moment overstayed its welcome? Does he ease out of it naturally, maintaining gentle contact for a brief second longer? The way a hug ends can be as revealing as how it begins. A gradual release shows reluctance to break connection. That reluctance often signals attachment rather than uncertainty. Consistency is another indicator. If his hugs always feel meaningful rather than occasional or situational, that pattern reinforces purpose. Fusion tends to create inconsistency. One day warmth, the next day distance. But intention stabilizes behavior. When he consistently embraces you with the same energy, the same warmth, it reflects steady feeling. Stability rarely grows from mixed emotions. Intentional hugs also tend to create emotional clarity within you. You don't walk away questioning what just happened. You feel reassured, grounded, maybe even understood. Confusing interactions often leave you analyzing every detail. But when a hug is real, the message feels simple. It communicates care without chaos. Your intuition often picks up on that clarity immediately. There is also courage in intention. Physical closeness requires vulnerability. When a man chooses to hold you in a way that expresses emotion, he is accepting the risk that comes with connection. That risk suggests seriousness. People don't take emotional risks without reason. If he didn't value the bond, he could maintain polite distance. Choosing closeness is a statement in itself. Energy transfer plays a role too. In a real hug, you can feel warmth, calm, sometimes even reassurance flowing between you. That sensation isn't imagined. Human bodies respond to genuine connection through subtle physiological shifts, slower breathing, relaxed muscles, steady heartbeat. Those reactions are difficult to fabricate. Intention produces authenticity, and authenticity produces that emotional ease. A hug without intention feels hollow. It's quick, mechanical, and emotionally neutral. But when intention is present, everything aligns: timing, posture, pressure, eye contact, release. The embrace feels complete. It doesn't leave loose ends. It communicates what words might complicate. When a man hugs you with real intention, there's purpose behind every second of contact. And purpose never feels accidental.